Good time of day, friends! In this video, we're continuing our series where we compare my experience in a particular game at the beginning and after a certain number of runs. And in each run, I go all the way to the end and never intentionally die even if the chances of winning are slim. Today, I want to introduce you to the legendary game, Dead Cells. It's another roguelike game featured on this channel. I thought it would be more convenient and efficient to play with a keyboard and mouse like in the case of Noita, but the game itself suggested that I'd be better off using a gamepad. I won't make a lengthy introduction. I wish you a pleasant viewing experience as a Dead Cells novice attempts to achieve something in 25 runs. But first, subscribe and like the video to support its promotion. The first run began. I spawned somewhere and had a chat with an axe and a stump. Completed the tutorial and encountered a woman who seemed eager to tell me something important. Had a conversation with her and picked up the starting bow lying on the ground. Encountered my first enemies. One was an archer and another was a toxic guy who lunged at me. Later, I encountered another enemy who threw bombs through walls. Dodging them was quite a challenge. Ran past a large stone circle that lit up. I later realized it was a portal for fast travel. Right after the portal, there was a treasure room with a chest containing the Nutcracker. It's a massive hammer, dealing more damage than the sword, but with slower attack speed. Got a blueprint called Blood Sword from an enemy. I'll understand its significance later. Picked up a Scroll of Power, which boosts the damage of a weapon's specific color. I didn't understand the difference yet and chose Brutality Enhancement, although I rarely use a sword. Encountered some slime that I couldn't interact with, and the tickle function did nothing. Used the portal for the first time. Found another strange item that I could rub, but it also did nothing. Picked up a bomb which I didn't get to test because I encountered a new enemy with a shield, and while I was trying to figure out how to attack him, he killed me. At the start of the second run, I spoke to the woman again and picked up the bow. Encountered a door that wouldn't open, but later found a pressure plate that unlocked it. Encountered an enemy that killed me previously and learned to defeat it by dodging and attacking from behind where it's vulnerable. Found a powerful bow in a huge chest that shoots 3 arrows, piercing through the first target. In the next chest, I found a wolf trap that could be placed on the ground. Entered a room with merchants, where I futilely attempted to agitate the shopkeeper by incessantly clicking the dialogue button. Couldn't buy anything due to lack of money. Spent 650 coins to unlock a passage behind a door where I found a tonic. I think it'll help in battles if I remember to activate it. Found another scroll, this time understanding the color differences. Opted to enhance purple for better tactics, as I mainly use a purple bow. Cleared the location of enemies, finding exits or passages to the next area. Encountered 2 locked doors, realizing later they open by fulfilling specific conditions on the previous floor. In this case, I needed to complete the floor within 2 minutes and kill 30 enemies consecutively without taking damage. Next was a room with an alchemist who explained his purpose. He offered various skills for cells, which would simplify or alter future runs for me. Invested cells to unlock a first-level health flask. Later, got confused about how to proceed as a door wouldn't open. Initially thought it was the end of the run, as I hadn't met the conditions to open both doors. Eventually realized hitting the door a few times miraculously opened it. Behind the door was a creature allowing me to choose mutations. Hastily chose the first mutation I encountered, then regretted as I only had 1 upgrade point, and reset the mutation for 1,000 coins, settling for a health restoration upon enemy kills. Used a large vial with an elixir to restore health and proceeded to the next location. Encountered new enemies, a ninja capable of teleportation, and a flying insect that was challenging to hit. Picked up a sinew slicer, which could be placed on the ground to shoot saws at enemies. Found another scroll, but this time with only 2 upgrade options. Discovered a room to explore, where I found a weapon freezing enemies but dealing minimal damage. Seemed ineffective to me. Encountered an elite enemy in a room. Defeating him was easy, and he dropped a vine rune, allowing interaction with slime. Tickling the slime caused vines to grow, enabling climbing. Found a strange spot that seemed like it should collapse, as a sign lit up when I hit it. Perhaps I need another rune. Reached a tower with many closed doors and various items. Couldn't figure out how to open them, and continued onwards. Ran too fast and couldn't stop before spikes. Discovered a secret location with a good weapon igniting enemies. Reached the next location. Once again, failed to meet the conditions to open doors, which were even tougher this time. Allocated cells at the alchemist and made several upgrades. Yet, to realize I should spend all cells before proceeding, as they're lost upon death if not invested in a skill. Chose a peculiar mutation with an equally strange description. Still don't fully understand how it works. In the new location, tested what would happen if I fell into a pit. Encountered another elite enemy, this time a zombie, dropping a customization rune. Found another secret spot with a new red-colored weapon. Entered a room with new monsters. One nearly killed me, but I emerged victorious. Uncertain about an item seemingly granting enemies armor enhancement, encountered another new enemy, a mage shooting through walls. While clearing rooms of enemies, took some damage and ultimately behaved carelessly in one of them, paying the price with the end of the second run. The third run finally gave me a clear understanding of how these runs work in the game. With each attempt, we spend earned cells from enemies to unlock permanent skills at the alchemist. In the previous run, we upgraded the gold sack, which appears before each run, and of course it appeared this time too. Running further, the woman introduced a new game mechanic. I could pay a single coin to view all my upgrades throughout the game. The number of empty vials hanging from the ceiling is intimidating. Seems like there's a lot of content in this game. Encountered another creature showing my progress. At the bottom, there was another green goblin or cat who remained silent. Also discovered the ability to change clothes. Opted for the purple color. Encountered yet another door that wouldn't let me through. At the start of the run, I wielded a shield for the first time, allowing me to block and parry attacks. Managed to deflect a slow arrow on the third attempt. I think that's the last time I'll be using a shield. Found a grenade which hit weakly, but had a fast recharge. Narrowly avoided death due to foolishness. With the Vine Rune's help, I found another passage to the next room. We'll explore everything around before proceeding. Later, paid money to open a door and obtain a weapon that sets enemies on fire. It's currently one of my favorite weapons. When I entered a new toxic location, a creature stopped me and asked me to bring it a specific rune. Encountered many unpleasant new enemies, including a scorpion that unexpectedly emerges from the ground and has a long-range attack. Tested whether I'd take damage from toxic puddles. Obviously, I shouldn't step on them. Accidentally found a secret. Clearing rooms of enemies. A scorpion nearly killed me in one of them. Again, accidentally noticed a secret in the wall. Had very little health and acted very cautiously. Mostly relied on throwing turrets into crowds of enemies and waited for them to deal with it themselves. Encountered an elite zombie. I thought the fight would be easy and I could just shoot it from afar, but it started summoning a crystal that shot at me. Then the zombie began teleporting, not even letting me hit it. Was left with only 2 health points again, but managed to defeat it. This time, instead of a rune, an amulet dropped. Found the exit to the next location. In the room with the collector, I invested in a new skill, allowing me to sell unwanted items. Learned from the last run to spend all cells. And this time I did, and the door that I could only break opened on its own. In the next location, I was already familiar with the enemy's behavior. Initially, tried to clear all rooms of enemies, but then realized it would take too long and started skipping a lot. Found an interesting weapon and took it instead of the bow. Didn't get to use the new weapon because I rushed and got stuck between enemies and died. Or maybe it just seemed that way, and I died very foolishly. At the beginning of the path, a door appeared that wouldn't open. Decided to go with brutality this time. My favorite sinew slicer dropped from a chest. Found a little bug in a jar, inspected it, and received a blueprint for a magic bow and a new character skin. Reached the entrance to the toxic sewers again, but last time it made me hate it. So this time I'll run to find the standard exit from the current location. At the merchant's, there was a free skillet. It dealt a lot of damage, but for some reason I didn't like it. Near the passage to the next location, found the corpse of a woman who might be the same one who spoke to us during training. My character decided to kick her for some reason, and a blueprint of a broadsword dropped from her. Invested cells into the new weapon. At the beginning of the second location, encountered a living chest that wanted me to hit it, but I just tried to open it, for which it bit me. Got cursed, causing any damage to kill me until I killed 10 enemies. Of course, I died a very silly death, simply slipping off the edge due to my sword strikes and falling right onto a bomb. The fifth run turned out to be quite eventful. First, changed my skin to the new one I found and explored in the previous run. Then found an interesting weapon that can strike upward and downward. This time, I'm determined to open one of the doors in the room after the floor. I'd want to fulfill the condition of killing 30 enemies without taking damage. Once again, decided to go with brutality. Picked up a key near a corpse before the passage to the next location. Returned to the merchant to buy twin daggers. Finally got to see what's behind one of these doors. As a reward, I received a lot of gold, cells, and a choice of 3 items. Upgraded the health flask to the next level. Encountered a strange statue of the island's king. What to do with it? Cleared all floors of enemies again to complete the challenge of killing 60 enemies without taking damage. Miraculously passed through the trap-filled path without taking damage. Knocked on some door, but it didn't open for me. Found a secret passage in the wall. In the room, there was a weapon that sets enemies on fire. Couldn't figure out how to proceed further and return to the main path. The door for the location challenge opened, and again, I took the weapon that I had at the beginning. In the next location, found another door, but this time someone knocked on it, wanting me to let them out, but of course, I didn't know how. Became curious about reaching the flower and accidentally found a secret passage, but still didn't have the key. Lost my kill streak because of a creature I didn't know how to dodge. Finally, managed to pass through this location. This time, there was only one door for kills. On the next floor, I encountered a boss. The fight followed an obvious strategy. I simply pressed everything and prayed he didn't hit me. Fortunately, he didn't deal much damage, and I quickly learned his attacks. As a reward, I received gold, items, weapons, and a rune that unlocked access to some challenge.
Met a new friend who wanted me to invest cells in his shady schemes.
It takes a whole 500 cells for an upgrade, and I'm not ready for that yet. Next, I encountered 2 doors, one of which is DLC. And if you really enjoy this challenge, perhaps in the future, I'll buy the add-on and see what I can achieve there. The new location is Stilt Village. Of course, there are new and unfamiliar enemies. Entered some house where enemies almost killed me and received a skillet as a reward and another room where the key to the passage further into the location was lying. But then something interesting happened. I was heavily beaten by enemies. There were too many of them, and I didn't understand what was happening. Decided to enter and take cover in a room, cleared it, and went out hoping that all the enemies had calmed down. But of course, it was a mistake. Wonderful. Before the 6th run, I remembered finding the key to the training room. It went down to the basement, and the door to the previously closed room was open. Here I met a dead woman who was alive. In this room, I could choose weapons, skills, upgrades, and level to train. For the 6th run, I planned to open the door for completing the location in less than 2 minutes. So I skipped all enemies and rooms to find the exit faster. Got distracted by some pyramid, kicked it a bit, and got an interesting weapon. Accidentally woke up an elite monster, and even though I didn't have time to fight it, I needed to kill it. I did it quite quickly and got a strange emerald key. Managed to reach the end within 2 minutes and got the achievement and the open door with obvious rewards. Spent cells on a red weapon. It had a super attack if you held the attack button for a bit. At the new NPC blacksmith, I upgraded and reforged the hammer. Ran through the next location very quickly, skipping all enemies and rooms with valuable loot. There was no point in exploring the entire location anymore, because in the end, there would be only one door for killing 60 enemies without taking damage. But I quickly found the passage to the boss and decided not to explore everything else. Unfortunately, the boss killed me because I didn't fully understand its attacks, and also because I had low maximum health and damage.
I think if I want to progress far in the game, I don't need to rush through everything.
7th run started with an unexpected and interesting enemy. Entered a room and woke up living mushrooms. Killing them wasn't a problem, and as a reward, I got a double skillet. Encountered an elite enemy shield bearer again. He had an unpleasant attack, and he himself was a very unpleasant creature. But once again, he dropped an emerald key, found some statue, and petted its golden belly. As a reward, got a potion that dealt 5 damage to me. Very useful thing. Turned out, Spartan sandals were a really cool weapon. They stunned enemies and kicked them far away, dealing additional damage when they hit walls or fell down from the kick of these sandals. Decided to go to the toxic sewers location again, but later I regretted it. There were too many enemies in one room. I couldn't deal damage without getting hit and returned. At one point, I accidentally fell from a great height and got stunned, and at that moment, a scorpion came out and finished me off.
The 8th run turned out to be the longest one yet.
A hairdresser appeared in the room and changed my hairstyle, or rather my head. This time, I decided to play with purple weapons, focusing on tactics. Found an interesting weapon among a pile of bones. Unfortunately, won't be using it in this run. Picked up a sapphire key. I don't understand why need them. Activated a statue of some demon. 2 imps appeared, but by the time I caught up with the first one, the second had already disappeared. Encountered an elite enemy, a mage with a very unpleasant attack that was difficult to dodge.
Once again, someone's behind the door, and once again, don't understand what's going on and how to get them out.
Found the second statue of imps. This time, they ran in one direction, but still couldn't kill the second imp in time. Spent cells on a fire grenade. It will definitely save my life multiple times in the future. Defeated the boss easily, although I almost died a couple of times because I couldn't understand some of its attacks. By this point, I had gathered a very strong weapon combination. I had a bow, although weak, a freezing weapon which turned out to be very effective, a fire grenade, and my favorite turret, which always saves me. Thanks to this setup, I will go far. Met a chef trader for the first time. Met the imp statue for the third time. And this time, I managed to kill them, and as a reward, I got a secret costume. New location, clock tower.
Met many new enemies, and the game decided to introduce me to them more closely.
I activated some stone that teleported me into the thick of things with the enemies. Lately, there have been quite a lot of elite enemies appearing.
Found the key to the door, but of course couldn't just take it. I had to get hit in the face.
And here's the next location, or rather, the boss, but I didn't know it yet. Did a cool upgrade for the turret. Finally encountered the new boss, the timekeeper.
I was very surprised that was able to kill her very quickly, almost without taking any damage. I believed that could complete this run.
The next location made me furious for some reason. Either because of the enemies turning into a whirlwind that sucked me in, or spear wielders attacking through ceilings, or because I had to run through mazes in search of keys. Everything was fine. I carefully checked the capabilities of the new enemies and didn't rush into danger. However, I used my last potion, and now I'm close to death. In the first room, I got the first key from the doors after killing the mini-boss. The enemies hit very hard, quickly, and unexpectedly. Due to my misunderstanding of their behavior, my health quickly dropped.
In the second room, there was another key, but I gave up almost my last bit of health for it.
Found 2 doors and opened them with the keys. Needed to enter the next location because I had neither health nor healing potion, but strongly believed in my invincibility because I had gone far with a little health before, but in the end, paid for this mistake. Later realized that I died right before the final boss. Do you think I was able to complete the first stage of the game on the 9th run? Let's see what happens. Right at the beginning, found a powerful weapon that was under a protective dome. These tentacles killed everything and everyone with just one touch. A little later, even realized that they also attract me to enemies and walls. Encountered a strange monolith that gave me a special weapon that takes up 2 cells under the weapons. Found a new secret in the well. And again, met a mimic. At first, I didn't want to risk it, but then realized that would need his items and gave him my hand. Quickly got rid of this curse. The end of the third location seemed strange to me. It ended too abruptly. I was right. There was a secret with a blueprint below. The boss died quickly and easily, but his attack across the entire map still drains me. Everything was going very well, even managed to get through the clock tower location almost without any problems, and killed the boss in just a few seconds. But still, I can't get through without taking damage. But something unpleasant happened during the transition between locations. Used the tentacle strike and activated the flask before the exit at the same time, and my game froze. I had to stop the recording and log back into the game, but then it got a little worse. The room where the key to the boss should have been generated in such a way that couldn't go any further. No matter how hard I tried, couldn't jump through the gap under the spikes. In the end, just killed myself on the spikes. I was very upset because this should have been an absolute victory. If you think I'm going to have a victory on my anniversary 10th run, I'm sorry to disappoint you. The run was very unsuccessful. I couldn't find decent weapons and skills. The locations and rooms were very difficult to clear of monsters, and was on the brink of death many times. As for something special, found a statue of a golden rooster that unlocked a very funny skill for me. I also opened a portal to a trial, where was met by a ghost. I easily passed all the traps and got out of this room.
In addition, bought a third key from the merchant, thus collecting all 3 at the same time, and received a secret skin as a reward.
I won't talk about this run for long, simply died in the castle when tried to get the first key. Died so quickly that didn't even have time to understand what happened. Alright, now let's take a close look at the 11th run. I sat by the bonfire and fell asleep, received new weapon, found a unique weapon that took up 2 slots. It seemed very weak to me, but there were no alternatives yet.
Another challenge within a challenge.
For the first time, chose a mutation that should save my life once after death. The weapon seemed quite decent to me. Although it had low damage, it froze enemies and dealt area damage in some cases. I was almost killed by an elite pirate. Had to change my weapon because it was no longer coping with strong enemies. An incredibly powerful weapon with huge DPS dropped from a regular zombie, but it was very slow. While I was getting used to the small attack range and speed of the mace, almost died and ran out of health potions. Didn't want to risk the run and went to the chef to buy food. It was nice to quickly kill hidden enemies in the tower with my electric whip. Finally, I got my favorite sinew slicer. It was even level 7. Killed the boss incredibly quickly, but I still can't get through without taking damage. Every time, she somehow hits me and deals only 1 hit during the entire fight. upgraded the health potions to the last level, and here is my favorite location. Killed the first elite enemy and took the key. Killed the second elite creature without any problems and took the second key. I wanted to clear the entire location and went to look for the last key. Once again, almost died, as in the previous time, but was able to take the key to the castle. The potions ran out, and it was risky to go further, but my curiosity was stronger. I opened an additional door after the exit and picked up a few items. In an attempt to pick up the boomerang blueprint, almost died. It seems that a rune is needed here that will allow you to break the floor.
Well, here is that very final boss.
The fight was quite difficult, almost died twice. It was hard for me to find time to heal because the boss attacked frequently, and of course, see his attacks for the first time. But in the end, it happened. I completed the game on the base difficulty, got my first stim cell, ran around and didn't understand what to do next, figured out how to pick up the weapon from the boss and hit the king with it.
I watched a captivating cutscene,
Turned into a slime and left the location through the fountain. The perfect ending to the first full run. Even though I completed the game on normal difficulty, there are still hundreds of runs and hours of gameplay ahead of me. Noticed that the huge skeleton had disappeared. There was a secret here. Learned how to leave my body, a strange mechanic. I don't know how it can help me. My collection has already filled up a bit. Changed the difficulty and activated the first cell. Approached the exit and something exploded. This opened a door that was previously inaccessible. But first I changed my skin and noticed that new doors had opened. One of them was apparently the daily challenge. Don't feel like trying it yet. And behind the second door were new challenges that I didn't want to touch yet.
I went through the big door.
Something big tried to scare me. Came closer and didn't understand what to do next. There was a lava all around and a closed passage above.
I was sure that would simply die in the lava and went back.
New enemies appeared, rats crawled out of the sewers, and an invisible knife thrower. Decided to try playing with the shield again. I understood how the parrying mechanic works, but couldn't parry the attacks of several enemies. I was very surprised when saw that could only restore one charge of the health flask. I was afraid that it would always be like this now, and didn't understand why the difficulty had suddenly increased so much. While was trying to parry the ninja, I almost died several times. In the end, I was still killed, but the mutation saved me. Unfortunately, this didn't help me learn how to parry.
Won't take the shield in my hands anymore.
Run 13 made me realize how much the difficulty had increased. Regretted going to the toxic location, but I wanted to get the reward for a quick completion. Was on the brink of death many times, and used up all my health potion charges. Almost died surrounded by rats and scorpions. Had to just run and not touch anyone to get to the transition faster. Explored the backpack that allowed me to carry additional weapons in some way. Was glad that I was allowed to restore all the charges of the flask with the potion. The next location killed me morally.
I didn't understand why, but all the enemies reduced my health to single digits with one hit.
When the flask charges ran out, they killed me. And then they killed me again, this time for good.
I decided to try playing through the green scrolls for the first time.
Found an interesting room, as well as a secret garage with new weapons. Opened a chest with a catch. Somehow unlocked secret clothing. Unlocked a new weapon. Very high damage, but too slow attack speed. I'm very unlucky with finding scrolls. Maybe it's because of the new difficulty. Got stuck between enemies and almost died. Met the guy behind bars again, to whom I was supposed to bring his rune. He wanted me to jump down. Of course I did. There was an elite enemy who almost killed me several times. But in the end, I got an artifact out of him, which turned out to be a teleportation rune. Now I can move between statues. Explored the new weapon and crossbow turret. Ice shard's not a very effective weapon, but the crossbow is a pretty good replacement for the old turret. Fell into the abyss. Repeated a second later. First, I was almost killed by an elite zombie. Then I unsuccessfully got caught in an explosion and used an extra life. The health vial was empty, and I was on the brink of death again. Carefully made my way to the exit. Improved the starting gold pouch. Had a tough battle with the concierge. Health and potions ran out. I just ran away from the boss to another corner of the arena and slowed him down, while the turret dealt damage. Being on the verge of death, I finished him off. A chest appeared before the exit, which teleported me to the bank. Talked to some goblin and accidentally took out a loan of 4,000 coins. Took the elevator down and opened one of the 3 doors with the red key, and below was a paid door. There were new creatures here, and 2 elite enemies who ended up killing me. The lesson from this run is simple. Don't take out loans in the bank. Started the run by changing into a suit suitable for my gaming experience. Found an interesting room and got the worst weapon I've ever had in the game. Before I could read the description, I sold my old weapon and paid for it. To charge the new weapon, I had to kill enemies, but I could only hit them with my frost blade, which didn't damage already frozen enemies. I had to suffer for a long time until I found a new weapon. Decided to try breaking the door instead of paying to open it. I was cursed, which summoned a mimic to attack me. Went into a new room and got some kind of key. Didn't understand what was lying on the floor, and a second later, the answer found me. Found the legendary tonic, but rarely used it. Entered a very strange room with some kind of altar. Picked up a new weapon, glanced briefly at the altar, and something unexpected happened. A worm appeared and slithered somewhere down. I saw on the map that there was a room below, but I didn't understand how to get there. Back in that room again. Tried to use that flower somehow, but it bit me. On the second location, managed to reach the key with the help of my other form, but forgot to use it. I've been running around with bad starting weapons for a very long time. Decided to buy a green weapon, even though I was going down the red path. Later, I really liked this weapon. Maybe the next run will be through the green path. Remembered that I had access to a new path at the end of the second floor, and I entered a new location. New mobs and new mechanics of their spawn. Another new creature that's difficult to kill up close. Found a room with an elite skeleton. Got that very rune that allows breaking floors. The new location was very large, with lots of rooms, but surprisingly, it wasn't difficult for me to clear them all. Didn't want to risk it and decided not to touch the mimic. Finally found a decent red weapon. Realized that I wasn't using the tonic after all and replaced it with a firebomb. Another dangerous battle with the boss and another victory. Unlocked the second level item recycling upgrade. Used the village key on the door after the teleport and entered a new location. Talked to some strange creature and she told me to follow the light. Picked up a new bomb which takes a whole 2 minutes to recharge. Was greatly surprised by the new enemies and almost died due to not knowing their behavior. Followed the light, as I was told. Found a secret, and at some point, for some reason, I started taking damage, and the run ended with a very unpleasant death. 17th run, changed clothes, tried tossing my slime form at the door, and it worked. Picked up a mysterious key. Found an unrealistically huge creature, and it gave me a very strange item that changes its functionality after each use. Accidentally found a secret passage to the garden key. In the tower, I got another key, and I needed to find the last garden key. Teleported back to the beginning and started searching. Noticed something resembling a flower, and after a couple of jump attacks, I obtained another key. Opened all the doors and got a new crossbow blueprint. Unlocked a new weapon, a katana. In battle, it proved to be the best. Now, it's one of my favorite weapons. Figured out how to check for secret passages in the abysses. Don't understand how to open this door. There's no pressure plate anywhere. The boss battle started off well. There was a chance I could defeat him without taking damage, because I had quite a lot of damage. But at one moment, the combination of his attacks just left me no chances. On the 18th run, I changed the difficulty to normal to calmly explore new locations, find new runes, and study the behavior of bosses and new enemies. Tried experimenting with the flower again, and finally succeeded. Came across the passage to the DLC location. Not eager to go there yet. Fell gracefully downwards. Picked up the Moonflower key. Took a risk to open the cursed chest and very carefully removed the curse. Went back to the Forgotten Sepulchre. Last time I didn't get a chance to explore this location, figured out what the light bomb is for and bought it. The location is quite unpleasant. I had to run between light sources to avoid taking damage. Otherwise, the floor wasn't difficult. Picked up the crypt key to progress further. Got another Moonflower key. Don't even know where to use them. Encountered 2 elite assassins and got keys from them, which opened the passage to a new explorer's rune. Saw a new attack from the timekeeper, and saw the passage to a new location. Of course, I went to the derelict distillery. New mechanics with exploding barrels. Picked up a gun that shoots these same barrels. Later figured out how to use it. Unlocked the blueprint for a new turret, Tesla coil. Got tossed around like a football. Went through the trial road and felt like I was in the old game Donkey Kong. Explored the upgrade that will allow me to change the assortment of goods in the shop. I wanted to kill the Hand of the King slowly to memorize his attacks for future difficult modes, but it didn't work out very well, and I still ended up bombarding him with hits. Though on the brink of death, I emerged victorious. On the 19th run, still bothered by the areas accessible only by climbing walls. Didn't know how to solve it, so I went online and learned about another rune. That's where I'm heading now. Really wanted to play with the symmetrical lance, and started choosing green scrolls, even though I didn't have any green weapons. Later picked up a bat for the time being. Found that weapon, and then after a few shop rerolls, bought the Frost Blast. In my opinion, it's the perfect combination. Met the guy again to whom I was supposed to give the teleportation rune, but my character decided otherwise. Found that very new location I needed, namely the ancient sewers. Increased the quality of all weapons. Unpleasant tentacle enemies appeared in the new location, but freezing and poisoning helped to deal with them. Another tough enemy, a big mushroom. Its attacks are quite subtle, and it can summon spikes from a long distance. Found a secret place with slime and a cocoon, but found nothing there. Found 3 old keys, and a bit later, found where to use them. On the next floor, a new boss awaited me. The battle with Conjunctivius was quite easy. His attacks are slow. Even in the 3rd phase, he hits very weakly. Only the phases with the tentacles were annoying, as it was very difficult to track their movement, and passing this boss without taking damage was quite a challenge. He also moved quite dynamically around the arena, but traps that held Conjunctivius in place helped me. The next location was quite interesting and unusual. The enemies here are very unpleasant because they are invisible. Sometimes I encountered doors that simply wouldn't open. Found a pit where obviously there was a mini-boss. Killing him was no problem, and as a reward, I got that very rune that this run was dedicated to. Bought a stronger grenade. Didn't understand what to do next because all paths were closed by doors. Turns out, I forgot to activate the device near the arena with the elite enemy. The whole location lit up red, and enemies appeared again. Also, the doors opened. My health flask was empty, but I wasn't taking damage. But at one moment, I almost died, and due to not knowing the behavior of the new enemies, a funny incident occurred. Just take a look at this. I had 1 hit health left, and this golem wouldn't let me escape from it. Fortunately, the enemy got poisoned, and I didn't have to risk much. The explorer's rune showed me that there was another passage somewhere, but I didn't dare to go further. Bargained with the merchant for a new symmetrical lance. On the first try, with the last money, managed to successfully upgrade the weapon. I literally killed everyone in one go. It was very enjoyable to play with this spear, but at one moment, I lost almost all my health due to an unpleasant enemy, and then met the same idiot of an elite level, and I just couldn't do anything to him. I believed that in this run, I could make it to the final boss. I had a very good item setup. 20th run. Found a reference to Terraria and a weapon from that game. Thanks to the spider rune, managed to reach a new location. Opened the cursed chest, tried to grab onto the wall, but died. 21st run was the fastest. Decided to break all the doors in the room and accumulated curses. Now I need to kill a 150 enemies without taking damage. Of course, died to the first enemies. Decided to change my outfit as luck seemed to have abandoned me. Of course, started choosing green scrolls again. Sold the unnecessary flask. Climbed up the wall to the 2nd location and found a new blueprint. Bought my favorite weapon. Purchased a powerful grenade. Bothered some guy behind a door. He gave me a roasted chicken leg to get rid of me. Bought Frost Blast and almost completed the entire set. Wanted to go back to the prison depths to explore what I missed last time. Encountered the same idiot who made everyone invisible. Also, there was a creature with a gun on its back from which flying fleas and bombs emerged. At the end of the location, received an unnecessary reward. Used the previously acquired key and sold the item. Fully cleared the ossuary. Found one of the most useful blueprints. We'll explore it later. Killed the boss without using healing potions, but lost some health. Bought a symmetrical lance with excellent upgrades from the shop. Freezing and killing everyone was pure enjoyment. This is definitely my favorite build. And there's the last item I needed. Strongly hated the idiots with purple daggers, but this time, they'll be the only ones suffering. Got trapped in a chest and experienced a beautiful mass death. Found a reference to the Dark Souls series. After using the bonfire, many enemies appeared in the room, whose death generously rewarded me. Finally upgraded Frost Blast. And in the shop, 2 symmetrical lances dropped at once. Explored that mutation, Armadillo Pack. Reset the mutations and chose new ones. Now, with a shield in my backpack, I can parry enemy attacks when rolling. Saw new attacks from the boss, making it harder and longer to kill her. Running through High Peak Castle was a pleasure. I just froze and destroyed everyone. Didn't use a single charge of the flask throughout the location, and if I did take damage, I'd heal with the vampirism mutation. First key, second key, and third key. Took a risk to exchange weapons for a higher level, but without proper upgrades. Everything was going so well, and I was sure I would defeat the boss in the end. But all my luck vanished when I wanted to grab the blueprint for the boomerang in the additional room. I was so scared of dying again that I just went to the exit. Only later did I realize that I could grab that blueprint in slime form. Was unlucky with weapon upgrades and ran out of money. dealt a lot of damage to the boss, but took even more. In the end, I couldn't understand anything, and he bombarded me with attacks, not giving me a chance to heal. 23rd run. Tried to assemble my favorite build again with the dual blades and freezing, but I had a very unfortunate run through the Stilt Village, and towards the end, I had neither health nor flasks left. It's very difficult to play with such slow weapons without freezing, so I was getting hit by everything. Managed to buy Frost Blast quite late, because I only had 1 hit of health left, and of course I die within half a minute due to my own clumsiness. 24th run didn't get recorded because my disk space ran out, and the program stopped recording after 5 minutes. I didn't do anything special. Tried playing with the heavy crossbow for the first time, and surprisingly, I enjoyed it. In the end, I got stunned and beaten up in the second location. Throughout the 25th run, I couldn't find decent weapons. In the end, I went to the wrong location and died. Over the course of 25 runs and more than 20 hours in Dead Cells, I've come to both love and hate this game. Undoubtedly, it's a great and interesting game, but much depends on randomness. The success of a run is determined by the weapons, items, forging, and other attributes you find. Unfortunately, I didn't manage to reach the second cell, but I was very close. I would gladly play more and show you my progress after 50 or 70 runs. If you're interested in seeing that, please write in the comments. Also, I'm looking forward to your advice and builds for completing different difficulties. I'm eager to hear your opinions. That's it for this video. See you soon in a new challenge.